Hey guys, Karima here. Just wanted to talk to you guys about recording on XSplit and streaming with it because it's one of those things where I get questions about these quite often, and XSplit's a really easy software to set up if you know how the settings actually interact with each other. So let's just get started. So first of all, you need to download XSplit. So what I would do is go to xsplit.com. You need to sign up for the beta once it loads. So you can register or you can download it if you're already signed in, and it'll give you a software load. I'm using the one that's from the focus group. However, you might get one that looks a little bit different, or if this is an old recording, one that's a little bit more updated. However, the principles are still the same. The UI is pretty consistent across all of them. So when you're done downloading it and installing it, boot it up. Once it's booted, you'll see the window open. It's freeware for now. However, when the beta stops, it's going to cost money. But for now, enjoy it, right? So I'm loading on a blank scene. Usually I have scenes already set up, and the screen basically goes tabs on top that have various settings and various meanings. The middle part where you're going to have your webcam output so you can see what you're actually streaming. You have your microphone volume control and your speaker volume control, which you can adjust. You have scenes, it goes 1 through 12, and you can name them here in this little text box. And you have your scene sources, aka what cameras you're using, what text you're putting on the screen. So to set up your XSplit, here's how you do it. First, you go to View. First, you choose what resolution you want to stream at. So for me, because I have a high bitrate, aka my internet's very fast, I usually go at 1920 by 1080. However, if your internet is maybe 1.5 megabits per second upload or 2.0 megabits per second upload, you're probably going to want to stick to 1280 by 720, aka 720p or lower. Second is frame rate. I stream at 30 frames per second. It works well for me and my specs. However, if you're noticing that you're having some issues with streaming, that it's getting choppy or there's a lot of pixelization, 25 FPS for everything except for shooters is generally okay. I've streamed World of Warcraft. 25 FPS is fine. If you stream below this though, keep in mind that people are going to see your stream kind of like in slow motion. So be careful setting it too low. Next, transition. This tells you if you change between scenes here in this little grid, it will not, how it will actually transition the phases. Projector is if you hook up to a projector, and scale viewport is what the size of the actual video is. If I have it as actual, it's going to have me, since I have my resolutions at 1920 by 1080, it's going to make this thing massive, like way too big for me to manage. So I scale it down to 50%. Next, you need to figure out what you're going to broadcast on. I broadcast on Justin.tv. So first thing you're going to do, you're not going to see any of these things when you first load it. You go to Edit Channels. Then you're going to see a big empty list. You want to go and basically add. Now the first time you load it, you might not see Justin.tv or Twitch.tv in here. So go to More, and it's going to boot a store. Here is where you can choose what stream service you use. Blog TV, Justin.tv, Owned, Nico Nico Doga, UStream, etc. Install it, and then go back and you can add it. So I'm just going to add a mock Justin.tv account. So my username on Twitch.tv goes in the username box. So Curry. Next, my password, which is, you can't see it. You can also get a stream key if you're on a team channel. Choose the channel that you're streaming on. Now this is the most important part for getting a good stream quality, what location you choose. So basically, choose the place that's closest to you. If you're in London, choose the London primary and London secondary. If you're in Amsterdam, choose that. If you're in, for example, Michigan, the closest one to you is probably New York. Just choose whatever's closest to you. I'm in Japan, so I choose Los Angeles primary as the closest server. Next, your preset. This means how much are you going to rely on your bandwidth versus your CPU. If you have a really good overclocked CPU, aka an i7 4.3 gigahertz, you can have a lower preset. What it's saying is, how much is your CPU working to compress the video so it's not working your internet so hard? You can take this beautiful image and send it raw over the internet at whatever speed your internet can handle with no compression, no work on your own end, just whatever XSplit does if you keep it at a very high preset, aka these things up here are reserved, super fast, ultra fast. These two here are reserved for like the fastest internet, like you're talking T-line connections. Very fast, faster, and fast. These are more recommended if your CPU is very good and your internet isn't so good. And the lower you go, the more stress you're putting on your computer. I never recommend going below fast. I personally stream it faster, and my computer is overclocked to 4.6 gigahertz. If you're lower than that, very fast or default is your best selection. So because most people can only do very fast, I'm going to say very fast is recommended. Next, quality. This is just the quality of your video, how crisp it is. I haven't noticed any performance difference setting it from 0 to 10. You might though, but I recommend setting it anywhere between 7 to 10. It is noticeable if you go really far down in the numbers. However, as long as you're within 7 to 10, you should be good. I can stream at 10, but you might not be able to. Next, your VBV max bitrate. What is this? This is the bitrate you're actually streaming at. So if you go to speedtest.net, you can figure out what this number is. So first of all, you go to begin test, or if you don't live next to your server, you should actually choose your server. I'm choosing, like I said earlier, the Los Angeles primary server. So I want to find the Los Angeles speed test. Click that, do a quick speed test, and it's telling me right now that I have to Los Angeles 12.5 down and 23 up. Now the rule of thumb is never use more than 75% of your bitrate upload, aka 23.41. I shouldn't use more than about 16, 17 megabits per second. I will never even get close to that because for one, most people's internet cannot handle that kind of speed. For two, XSplit actually seems to kind of like limit your connection. I can't stream above 2200 kilobits per second. Most people can't stream above 2600. So I recommend honestly just making it around 2100 if you have an obscenely high speed. But if you have 1.5, I would make it, so if you have 1.5 megabits per second, I would make it only 1000. The rule of thumb is 1500 and up, you can dabble in 1080p. If you're at 1500, you can definitely do 720p. And if you're lower than 1500, I recommend looking at 720p, but it's going to be a little bit pixely, or a lower resolution. Personally, I do 2100. You might be a little bit lower. Don't touch resolution. Audio. Now, I think audio is one of the most important things when you're talking about a stream. People don't really care so much about watching you all the time. They want to listen to you. And if you sound like you're in a tin can halfway across Russia in like exile in Siberia, and you're streaming to them, they're like, oh, this is just annoying on my ears. I hate this. And they'll just turn you off. So what you do is up your quality as high as you can get it without sacrificing. I personally recommend 44,100 kilohertz, 16-bit, and make sure you select stereo. Mono means you'll be coming out of one earpiece only, so stereo. Now, they automatically, by default, have 9600. That's the minimum you want to go, in my opinion, to sound good. I personally go at 128, but you can go even higher than that. It all depends what your upload is. If it's really, really tight and you're like, I have a really low upload, then get 9600. Maybe even go lower than that. But at the same time, realize people don't want to listen to you in a tin can. So this is my current setup, actually. These check marks down here automatically record broadcast. It means that it'll record as your hard drive and interweave audio and video into one channel. It means that basically if your stream screws up, it's going to mess up your audio and your video because they're on the same channel. However, if you don't check that, it'll stream your audio separate from your video. I just keep it checked because it's default. If you want to test your bandwidth, some clients have this test bandwidth thing. Try and set your bandwidth, your max bitrate, to whatever the average value is and do about 3 or 4 tests. But generally speaking, 75% of what this is fine too on speedtest.net. So I'm not going to save that, but normally hit OK, apply OK, and go. So this is my actual settings. You can take a quick look at it. Yep. Basically what I told you back there. Next, you want to go to the General tab. while still in the broadcast edit setting or edit channels part, you want to disable arrow. Arrow is only important if you're streaming desktop/browser games. You don't need that. Next, make XSplit a layered window. It decreases your performance. You don't need it. Uncheck it. Basically what it means is, though, if you want to have it checked, it means that if you ever put XSplit up, like you alt tab out of your game, it will not have XSplit pop up on your stream because it's considered a different layer. It won't show up, but it decreases your performance. Enable Skype interaction. This means if you want XSplit to be a Skype camera, aka you're streaming to someone or you're video camming with someone on Skype, and you're like, hey, take a look at my desktop, I want to show you it with XSplit. If you're not using XSplit to show on Skype though, just uncheck it. Enable virtual camera output. That means if you want to use XSplit to stream to a different service like FMLE. I don't do that, so I don't use it. Game source. This is pretty buggy right now. I wouldn't recommend using it. I recommend programs like DxTory, which is in a different tutorial. But you can link right into a game and play full screen if you pay a subscription to them. Here you can also choose your microphone. This is the important part of this particular window. Choose the microphone you're using. So I use front mic, aka my headset. And I just kept everything at default. Then finally in my recordings, where are you going to save your recordings at? Right here, wherever you want to put it. Apply, okay. Everything else for the most part pretty doesn't matter that much. So I'm going to cancel out, but you'd be hitting apply, okay. Next part is announce. Here you can set yourself up with Twitter, Facebook, and you can link this stuff. So when you're streaming, you can announce to your Twitter, your Facebook, and Justin.tv that you're streaming. And you can even change your stream title right here. Other than that, there's not much else helpful here. Next, you want to look at your scene. So I would choose scene number 1, for example. And you need to have actual stuff to stream. How do you do that? How do you set it up? So you go to add, and you can add a camera. If you're only using XSplit to stream, so aka no DxTory, no screen capture software, just using XSplit as you're streaming, and that's it, click screen region. Now you have the option of actually choosing a region. So for example, maybe you just want to show somebody a YouTube video. So maybe it's like this region for YouTube. They choose that. It's really wonky size though. No one usually does that. So what you'd actually do is go to add screen region and just click anywhere on the screen. Then you pull it to extend the full size. Now it is full size on the viewer's screen, and it's your entire screen minus your taskbar. You see there's no taskbar at the bottom. Then you can see that I can add a media file. For example, if I have a desktop image like this boob train, for example, woo. If I want to cover my chat in-game, I can put that up. If I want to add some text, where it's like, you go to add title and say like, welcome, BRB, getting dinner. You can set it to scroll, normal speed, change the color, make it more visible. Okay, and it scrolls. You can resize it. It looks pretty nice unless people know what's going on. It's kind of professional too, in my opinion. If you have to like step away from your computer, I usually tell people like I really size it down and I put it above my chat, and I'm just like configure like Ragnaros tomorrow. And then they can be like, oh, Ragnaros is tomorrow, cool. And then I personally have a webcam, so I usually put my webcam in the bottom corner. So this is me, hello. I size it down and put it in the bottom right. And you can see me while I game via this. Now, if you are using DxTory, this is a little bit different. You do not, if you're using DxTory or a capture thing, you want to delete that original screen capture and instead add camera, DxTory video 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you're using. In my tutorial, in a different video, which you can see linked somewhere on this video, I set it up as video 1, so you say DX video 1. It's black right now, but by the way, I pulled that down to the very bottom there. You didn't see that. When I boot a game, that DX tray picks up, like World of Warcraft. DX3 will kind of hook into it, and suddenly you see World of Warcraft. And if I press the hotkey, which you'll see in the other video, to stop, it goes away. Start, stop. And you see, this is how I have my general setup. It's pretty easy. It's not really difficult. And then when I actually want to start the broadcast, I go to Broadcast and click whatever service I'm using to stream. So I'm not going to do it right now, but you just click just in that Twitch.tv/Cur1. Like that. And that's it. It's super easy, guys. It really is not difficult. The hardest part is tweaking what works for your computer, your connection, and your game. Because not everyone's computer is the same, not everyone's internet is the same. You might be far away from the actual server that you're streaming to. That might affect your script quality. Hope this helped you guys. XSplit's a really easy software suite to use. If you want a second recommendation of a different program that is not XSplit, and because it's just not working for you for whatever reason, use Adobe Flash Media Encoder 3.2 or 2.5. You can find it if you just Google it. It is the exact same thing, minus the pretty like pictures on top of text on top of streaming stuff. Yeah, I've actually had better luck streaming at higher quality bitrate on FMLE, but I prefer XSplit because it just looks nicer as a package. Alright guys, if this was helpful to you, please like this video, favorite the video, share the video, and see my other videos on my Curry Gaming channel. I have Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and Bastion Let's Plays, WoW vlogs, gaming vlogs, and Life in Japan vlogs. Additionally guys, just to warn you, DX Story is a paid program. When I mentioned it, I did not mention that it is trial software that you can eventually buy. But XSplit, while the beta is still live, is free, but pretty soon you're going to have to pay, so keep a heads up. You might not be able to use this when you actually watch it. Alright, thanks guys.